so I won't forget again. So I requested the system IR office to pull lists of how many students are missing 5 credits for completion, 10 credits for completion, 15 credits for completion, 20 up to 25. And I have this data based on age, race, ethnicity. I have it for 25 to 44-year-old and for 45 and older. I was curious to see about those numbers. You can, of course, combine the two numbers and you'll have 25 and older. Those data is at the student level. So we pulled out the information that recognizes the students, but we can pull it back in if you want to know who those students are, so you can reach out to them. This is one group. Another group are students, as Chancellor Garcia said, who completed a credential but can go to the next level. A good example, I'll tell you, when I was a dean at Red Rocks, I oversaw Law Enforcement Academy. It is a 39 credit certificate to be a peace officer. But if you took 21 more credit, you could complete an associate degree. So the problem was, and we identified the problem, no one took those missing 21 credits and offered them in a way that someone who is a newly hired peace officer can actually come evenings or weekends and complete the 21 credits, let's say, over a semester or 2 semesters. So we can sell it as something that appeals to this crowd. We had so many graduates with the certificate. No one actually stayed for the associate. And partly is structural barriers. If we structure it differently, maybe it will be more appealing. So if you have those certificates that you want to now invest resources in structuring and encouraging students to complete the next level credentialing that can realistically be accomplished by next spring, go for it. And then the third group are new adult learners, in particular adult learners of color, that we want to enroll in short-term certificates, preferably those short-term that lead to higher wages. So I don't take any programs out of the equation. You can apply for anything, but preferably let's set those minority adults to a success in working and finding employment that will pay them well and allow them to make 50% above living wage. And I'll stop talking and open it to questions. Yes, Patty.
So is there a certain amount that each college can apply for?
Yes, so it depends on the project. If it's a single department project within a college, it's up to 20,000. If it is 2 departments coming together at the same college, it's up to 40,000. And if it's several colleges working together, it's up to 100,000. And I know I'll share with you, Patty, we have Perry who is working on submitting a proposal that focuses on Native Americans. And he's working with a director from Front Range. So they may apply together up to 100,000 for this project. And what they want to do is to focus on manufacturing. And they have several ideas. Some involved actually taking equipment to reservation and teaching there at the reservation, which I think these are some wonderful ideas that I heard. I've been meeting with a few people regarding the mini grants, and every time I hear another idea, and I love it, I think.
Thank you.
Ayelet, in case we can't find it quickly, could you put the call and the call for grant proposals in the chat?
So I'll be honest with you, I don't know how to attach a Word document, but I'll email it. I'll attach it to the Outlook invitation. In addition to the agenda, I'll attach the mini grant proposal and I'll re-email it to all the VPs following today. So,
Great,
and you can always email me. I'll put my email in the chat and then I'll just send you a quick link.
Thank you.
And I will tell you one more thing. Lumina Foundation defines credentials as also non-credit credentials, which is something that we in Colorado, we're not very advanced in the non-credit world. We're trying to make huge changes. We received several grants and we're working on several initiatives in the non-credit world. And Keith Peterson identified one of the cost as being one of the barriers because it's not financial aid eligible. But again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can learn, we can ask other states that have more advanced non-credit, what are you doing to offset costs for students? And we can involve, of course, our foundations. And so one of the projects that is going to be submitted for this mini grant involves IT-related credentials that are non-credits, but could provide employment or for those who are unemployed or underemployed. So could improve their life. I know Stephen is here from Morgan Community College. Stephen has an idea for a project. Stephen, I'm putting you on the spot. Share that.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So one of the things that we're looking at is scholarshiping some of the financial barriers to entrance into the nurse aid program, because that is a stackable credential that then leads to the associates in nursing and our new bachelors of science in nursing. But there's some significant financial barriers to entry into that first credential that, you know, a grant of this size could address very handily. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. And that's covering things like, I think it was some vaccinations and some scrubs and some other kind of startup fees that are...
Background check.
Sorry?
Background check, I think.
A background check, exactly. And so our Dean of Workforce Development, John Prouty, said, you know, I'm sure we would get more applicants and we could fill up several cohorts if we could remove these barriers. So that just seemed like some really low hanging fruit and like a really obvious way to jumpstart, you know, some more professionals in this track, right, in the pathway for nursing.
Stephen also has a program at his college that targets non-English speakers or English second language speakers, business owners. This is an entrepreneurship program. It's a 3-semester program that is instructed in Spanish. Again, targeting business owners with a first language of Spanish. And they're teaching them business skills, how to write a business plan, how to advocate for a loan. So that was one of the ideas that you had towards incentivize those students to complete and not just to take the skills that they needed and leave the program before they earn a credential.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's our multicultural entrepreneurship program. And Jorge Correa is basically working with working entrepreneurs and help them take it to the next level, like how to write a business plan, how to qualify for loans, and helping them kind of professionalize businesses that are already on the ground. So yeah, his program has really taken off.
Deb, would you like to share some of your ideas for the mini grants?
Sure. Ayelet came to our college and talked with us and helped us brainstorm, and a couple ideas came out centered around the PLA. Like, one of our problems is the adult learners just don't know about the PLA options, and even our staff and faculty don't even know how to go. I just had an email from an advisor yesterday. I have a student who wants PLA. Where? Where do I send them? And we do have information on our website, but obviously it's harder to find than we think. So one idea would be to try to market and put together possible a book about PLA, like, get the crosswalks of what we could accept without even a portfolio review. I'm stealing that idea. Ayelet, who was that? Whose idea was that from? You told us about it. I think it was Ruth Ann. Is it Ruth Ann's idea?
Yeah, it was Ruth Ann from CCD is doing. Yes.
Yeah. To basically put together the resource of the PLA, more than we already have, all the AP, all the IB and all that kind of stuff, but just really getting more expansion on what could serve as PLA. So that's one idea. We're working on that. I'm meeting with Dolly tomorrow to kind of brainstorm further.
And I will share with all of you that the goal for us is to minimize bureaucracy as much as possible. Any grant has bureaucracy, but if your proposal is approved, you will get the money up front. We will never ask you to submit any receipts to us. We will ask you to maintain receipts for your records in case of an audit. If Lumina comes to us and says we need to audit those sub-grants, but we only will require a final report that will have the actual spending as well as assessment of what it is you were trying to accomplish. We really encourage the colleges to apply for piloting. So, for example, you want to provide advising over the weekend. You can use this money to pilot that over a period of time and assess that. And even if it's a complete failure, no one showed up over the weekend, and that's okay. We achieved what we wanted to achieve, which is to see if indeed this idea will help the adult learners. I really heard tons of ideas from colleges about small scales or large scale projects. It can be marketing campaigns that are targeted in some programs. Some programs are not very diverse and they do lead to high wages, and we need to have maybe focused efforts in recruiting minority adult learners towards those programs. So that could be used for marketing, recruitment, training. I know that there is this the equity grant that targets instruction in the classroom. If you want to complement or supplement that grant with something that happens outside of the classroom, whether it's coaches who would call adult learners periodically, or any work that is done outside of the classroom that is not covered by the Teaching Excellence Grant can be covered by this grant. As long as it helps achieve the main goal, which is increase credentials for adult learners of color by next spring.
Hi, Ella. A quick question, please. In terms of the grant, does the money have to be spent before a certain deadline?
Yes, before the end of April 2023. And if there is any leftover, we'll ask you that you send it back to the system office. But it's a good, you just reminded me, I mentioned we are lowering bureaucracy. If you need to move money from one budget item to another budget item, you don't need our permission to do so. We give you the ability to shift money as needs change, because we acknowledge that this is dynamic. So
Thank you, Ayelet.
we have one college who wants to invest, to submit a grant proposal to invest the first semester, the full semester, to develop some accelerated curriculum, and then the second semester to actually offer the accelerated curriculum. They're talking about short-term credential, 8-week training, and they believe that they can actually run 2 cohorts in next spring semester. So, and I'm just sharing another idea. Money can go to directly support students. Just like Stephen shared with nursing, it can be linked to incentivizing for graduation. Really, any barrier that you think or you know that your adult students have to completion can be addressed.
One more question. Does after someone writes the proposal, does it go to a committee to evaluate, or how are the different schools chosen?
Yeah, so first of all, your school needs to approve it. Your leadership team needs to support that. And then, yes, we do have a review committee. We have a rubric. The rubric is included in the grant description. And the committee involves people from different people from CCCS, so people that are from academic affairs, from student affairs, from workforce development, as well as 2 people that are external to the system office that are the Lumina grant representative on the committee. So, and we each rank each proposal, and then we have a few meetings when we kind of discuss. And you will be asked when you submit a proposal, what would be the minimum amount of money that you could still work with in case not the entire proposal is approved. And at the moment, we are not limiting the number of proposals each college can submit. So again, as long as your leadership from your college supports this idea, you can submit several different ideas.
Beautiful, thank you.
And it's good to see you, Tommy. Tommy and I met at SFAC. I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, 2017, I think it was. Yes, nice to see you too. It's been a while.
Ayelet, can the funds, I'm thinking about the previous session, could funds be used to support positions? So for example, the previous session, we talked about the need for tutors in non-traditional hours, or even adult learners who feel more comfortable with adult tutors. Could the funds be used for something like that?
Yes, and I have one college, which I can't remember which one, that talked to me about they want to use the money to establish a cohort, a group for adult learners for math tutoring. So of course, the adult learners will be in different sessions, but they all come to the same tutoring. And what they said, which really I think is true, is that one thing that is common to adult learners 25 and older is that it has been at least 7 years since they graduated high school and took math in high school. So they do need the extra refreshment and support. And if they told me in the survey and in the focus groups that they feel more comfortable being among other adults, then by all means, let's try it. Let's try it as a pilot. Let's create these math tutoring, or if you want, English tutoring for this targeted group, and assess that. If it is a huge success, maybe your college would want to invest their own general funds in the future. But maybe it's not. And again, even if the assessment says we invested all this money and no one took advantage of that, and we will never do it again, it's still a success because we were able to learn something from it.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Ayelet, Jim's question kind of triggered me to ask. So we have all kinds of ideas that we're throwing at the wall of what we could do with this. But thinking strategically of our goal is to increase graduation by April 2023. So this is what can we do immediately? And one need that we've heard recurring is the need for childcare. That's such a barrier for adult learners to expedite their learning because they're always juggling childcare. So in our adult education program, we have 2 grants that we can provide free childcare for our adult learners while they're in class. However, I'm limited by those 2 grants that I can't serve the general population of the campus. So would this be something that we could put those REACH dollars towards to open it up to offering free childcare for our adult learners across campus, if that is a barrier to them finishing their degree?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Wonderful.
And also, Jim, from the previous session, we talked about PLA, and if colleges want to use this fund to have a free PLA week, month, and just tell students it won't cost you to submit an PLA portfolio or exam or whatever during this time, and it will be covered by the grant. Whatever you need, whether it's to pay a faculty member to review the portfolio or develop the test or anything, then that could be, again, our goal is to we have tons of research that shows that students that did receive PLA credits are more likely to just retain and complete. But also, in terms of time, if it shaves certain number of credits from the requirements, they may be able to complete faster. So we may have those students as part of our spring 2023 graduates. You can use this money for technology, whether it's technology for your classrooms, if you want to maybe try a high flex modality, or technology to students. If students have a barrier of not having a computer and you want to expand on your computer loaner program to adult learners, or if internet is a barrier and you want to have just to help students pay for internet that needed to complete online classes for the duration of the grant. If that's what will help them complete, by all means, let's do that. One of our hidden goals is that we will learn from whatever it is you're trying or piloting and be able to share experiences. So maybe next year, a year from now, when we have another Adult Learner Summit, we'll be able to actually hear some success stories from the mini grants. And we're also hoping to increase the duration of the grant by 3 more years. And if we do, and if we are successful in doing so, we'll have more money to allocate to colleges as sub-grants, and we'll also be able to invest in longer-term ideas or projects, including recruiting new adult learners to associate degrees and not just short-term certificates. And since no one has questions, I can pull up the grant description and just go over that if you want. And feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt anytime with questions. But this is the application, and it has style guide and timeline. The main deadline here to be aware of is the June 13th application deadline. And then, as I said, our hope is to actually distribute the money by mid-July. So it's the start of your next academic year, you'll have it. We have here definitions. I will tell you that our preferred, in a perfect world, we want to have minority adults who complete in-demand, high-wage degrees and certificates. I talked about the purpose of the grant and those sub-grants, and as well as duration. We have here different criteria that we will evaluate the grant, and evaluation rubric, which I will try to see if we can see that. So, and each evaluation criteria has a description for a 3, 2, and a 1. And we acknowledge the fact that some ideas are very easily linked to the goal of the grant. In such case, please don't spend too much in writing. You don't need to have long application for that to be approved. In other cases, your idea might look very distant from the goal of the grant. In this case, please do elaborate more. Tell us, how would it achieve the goal of the grant? Some ideas would serve all students, not just adult students, and not just minority students, which is great. It works too, as long as it also helps the targeted population. In terms of data, if you're trying something that was not tried before and you don't have any benchmark data, that's okay too. We will ask you to collect the data moving forward based on, again, age, race, and ethnicity. I mentioned some work in the non-credit world, and some of the certificates. So they're hoping to start this program in July. So they have no benchmark data, but as long as they they report data at the end of the grant based on age, race, ethnicity, and completion, and show who completed, then that works perfectly fine for this grant. We're looking at scaling and impact, and we want to have some kind of reporting, not just internally to us, but also something that we can share with other colleges, especially if it was a success. But also if it wasn't a success, maybe other college wants to know this data so they can avoid the same. We have a budget, and there is a link in this document to a very simple budget template Excel spreadsheet Again, you will have the flexibility to move money from one budget item to another budget item without getting another approval to do so. And then timeline, I acknowledge the fact that because of the duration of the grant, it may not be feasible for some longer term ideas. And assessment, and here you have just a sample application that you can fill up the blanks. Here is the link to the budget. And yeah, we tried as much as we could to keep it very straightforward and not to invest too much resources in writing the application or meeting demands from the grant, and more focus on the work itself. And again, please unmute yourself if you have any questions.
No questions, but just thank you for going through that again, Ayelet.
Sure.
Yeah, seems straightforward and exciting.
Yeah. It's really exciting. And I'll share with you that a group that met with me yesterday to talk about the non-credit idea that they have, they already developed the prior learning assessment tools. So if those students who start in like an 8-week certificate want to move to a 4-credit credential, CTE, or an associate, they will receive the credits for this work that they do. Oh, so I have a question. How do we ensure that college leadership has approved? I would say, please, when you have an idea, discuss it with your VP for student affairs or VP for academic affairs, depending who you are and where you are at the college. And they can take it from there. They can bring this to cabinet, whether it's cabinet or executive leadership team, and discuss the ideas.
Hi, Ayelet, it's Stephen. And so we just email you our completed proposal, correct?
Yes, yes.
Easy. Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm curious if you attended a different session at the 10 a.m. hour, if you found it valuable. I wish I could attend all of them.
I attended Eric Cherise, is that how you see his name? And how to apply the REACH data. And I think that tool that he presented is going to be really useful, you know, and especially like just comparing our work as a college to other states. You know, it feels like we were trying to look for differences and, you know, and similarities, and it feels like Colorado is pretty in line with the other colleagues, and that was comforting. But there are also some places where, you know, we have opportunities to improve and to work on our bucket. So that particular presentation was really great. So that's a good question. Following up to this summit, we'll have all of those recordings.
Yes.
Again, and how will you tie all this up? Because it was valuable.
Yes, we will have all the recordings. I'll share it with you. Yes. And Deb is referring to the asset map, which is something that the VPs in Colorado completed a survey for Lumina before I was hired. So it was, I believe, maybe in October. And then just piling the data. Colorado does really well in compared to the other states when it comes to equity. but we haven't developed even equity tools that are unique for adult learners. And sometimes we don't have to. Sometimes when you address biases, that it's for everyone, but sometimes there are unique needs for our adult learners. And I'm just reading the chat. I guess if we look at this adult learner holistically and see what do they need to complete, and then whether it's something structurally that we can have control over, such as curriculum design or scheduling. I know one college asked me, can we use some of the grant money to incentivize our full-time faculty to teach in non-traditional hours, in evenings and weekends? And the answer is yes. If you think that better quality of instruction that will help retain those adult learners happens with your full-time faculty and you want to incentivize them to pick on those classes, yes. Or even for if you want to examine a certain certificate in an accelerated model. So just design the actual schedule that adult learners can complete faster, bootcamp style, then yes, definitely. But I know that one of the sessions today talked about support services to the students, about their difficulties and barriers, and the mini grant can be used for that too. So look at the student holistically. What prevents them or makes it hard for them to just stay in school and complete what they started, and addressing that works. You can link it to the pathway work that we're doing with Reach, but it doesn't have to be linked to the pathway work. I'm going to stay here for 6 more minutes. If you have any questions, otherwise feel free to leave. And thank you for attending this day today.
Thanks, Ayelet. Thanks to you. I did have a question. I was corresponding a little bit with Kelly Graves, and you were on some of that correspondence too. And so we're ready to move forward, and we're just waiting for those numbers to come back. And so I don't know if you know about her workload, or if I could just maybe continue to correspond with her directly.
It's him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you what I know. Let's see. Because he does keep an updated. Yes, and he's finished with your data. So yes.
Great.
Yes, email Kelly and data. There is a spreadsheet on Teams where Kelly updates, and under your college, you'd say finished.
Thanks so much. I didn't realize. Well, I will definitely get in touch with him and I will check that Teams file. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So there is no upper limit per college. It depends on the project. If it is a single department in one college, you can apply for up to 20,000. If these are two different departments from the same college, applying together for a joint project, it can be up to 40,000. If it's several colleges coming together, two or more colleges coming together, it's up to 100,000. But there is no limit per college. In other words, if you can submit 5 applications for 20,000 each, or you can be a part of multi-college application, but also have your own college applying for some money. So there is no upper limit per college. We will determine after we see the ideas. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll end this session here and now. Thank you.